The Attorney General has made a series of proposals. They're now on their fifth iteration of these things. And it definitely affects people in the 37th Legislative District. This is about criminal gangs. We have gangs, let's face it, we have to acknowledge that problem. I don't know that the city of Seattle would use the legislation that the Attorney General wants. But in this legislation, some of which I find a little over the top, there are some nuggets of gold. And what we will do in the Senate Judiciary Committee is to ferret out these nuggets of gold and to turn that into law while, frankly, simply ignoring some of the other material. We're going to ignore, for example, the criminal law aspects of this. The Attorney General, like too many people, feels that criminal law problems can be solved by heavier sentences, in this case by an enhancement to a sentence because an act was committed as part of a gang. But we already have conspiracy, and that's a little harder to prove. But in this instance, we're going to be spending a lot of taxpayers' money, putting a lot of people in jail, when we already have the law that's the tool to put those people in jail. What I would like to see us do is get to the root of criminal gang problems, which have nothing to do with criminal law. They have everything to do with schooling, with economics, with the availability of jobs, social services, families more able to raise their children. We will do what we can, though, within the confines of this bill. One of the things that the Attorney General has, which I like, is mandatory reporting by hospitals and clinics for gunshot and stab wounds. Currently, only if a victim is unconscious and unable to make a choice about whether he or she wants the wound to be reported to the police, then the doctor can call up the cops and say, hey, we got somebody here who's a victim of a stab wound. If the victim is conscious, the victim is not asked, do you want us to report this? It's simply not reported. I believe it needs to be reported in every case because the police need this data if they're going to secure our communities against not just gangs, but any criminals. So I think we'll pass that. Then there's a part that has to do with protective orders. If a person has some provable connection to a gang, that person can be brought into court in a civil matter, put under an injunction not to be in a particular geographical area with two or more other people, three or more together, doing certain behaviors, having alcohol, harassing people, being in possession of a weapon, drugs, selling drugs. Violation of that court order by doing any of those acts would, of course, land them in jail. The injunction itself doesn't put anybody in jail. It results in an order, violation of which gets you into jail. I can understand the need for that in some communities in Eastern Washington that we have visited and where people, generally in the Hispanic communities, have asked us to do this. They want this as protection. I believe there are some residents of the 37th District who might feel likewise. I'm willing to go there, but I believe that in order to have the court associate some person with a gang, there has to be more than just a little bit of proof. There has to be a criminal conviction in the past that allows the court to make a judgment that this is in fact a gang-affiliated person. This may be a tool for moving crime around. It's not a tool for getting at the deeper causes of crime. There's a third part that would allow cities or counties to abate a nuisance in a house or an apartment. If a house or some premises is being used as a gang house, the police would be authorized under very restrictive circumstances to abate the nuisance. They have to call in the owner, you go to court, everybody is heard. In fact, I'd use the Seattle City Ordinance as the model for this. The AG has a very different model. We would want to follow civil liberties and make sure that all of the proceedings are held in court. Those are the three things that I think under some circumstances we could do. Jacking up criminal sentences is not the answer. But we understand that just as there are civil libertarians among us who feel, as I do, that we need to protect the rights of the individual against the state, so there are also victims in communities that are currently being harassed, even terrorized by gangs, who want this protection. We need to come to the protection with a great deal of respect for the rights of the individual in this democracy.